Forget what?
That The Unforgettables will now be on the air from 9 to 11 p.m. Saturday nights.
Forget about it.
So then you won't forget?
Forget what?
That The Unforgettables will now be on from 9 to 11 p.m. Saturday nights.
Excuse me? I forgot what the class is about.
The Unforgettables, as always, has been about celebrating the great American popular songbook, the vocalists, musicians, and songwriters. We not only play their music, but oftentimes a legendary name or newcomer to the scene will join us for an interview. So don't forget to tune into The Unforgettables every Saturday night at 9 on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Whoa, hey man, I think I'm in the wrong classroom.
That's it. Keep it simple. Be a simple man. Keep it simple, stupid. All those acronyms that work for us because that's the kind of guys we are.
I'm just a simple guy. I'm simple ton.
Exactly. There you go.
I'm heavy. And
keep your weight out of this. Yeah. But so you are back. Motormouth Radio, Long Island's only automotive talk show with Ray Guarino, Jack D, Laura D, Joe D, all D's. We're D'ing it up here today, and we're going to go back to. Jack, what are you thinking now with all this stuff with your truck? What's your next course of action going to be?
Well, I'm going to, first of all, go on vacation for a week.
Good idea.
Then come back and we'll tackle the problem.
Take a step back. That's always a good idea.
You got to walk away from it sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Right. I do that quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. And I'll take it from there. I'll, unplug the O2 sensors, start it up, see how it runs, if I get a code.
Right. Joe, you were talking about that, unplugging the O2 sensors.
Yeah,
why did you mention that?
Well, yeah, it was, we had mentioned at one point just to see if something was throwing us a curveball as far as mixture goes, is because the O2 sensors report the mixture back to the ECM. If for some reason, whether it's a sensor itself or, a problem with like the wiring to it or whatever, if you disconnect them, all right, and you'd have to wipe out the memory, which if you have the right kind of scan tool, you could do, or you could just disconnect the battery, hold the cables together for a couple, 3 minutes, and off you go. At that point, when you start the car back up, what happens is, and we're just kind of talking about this during the break, the car looks at certain inputs, mass airflow, throttle position, coolant, and makes the calculation about how much fuel. As a matter of fact, and at that point, if everything's kosher, the car should run pretty good because fuel trims, which we'll talk about a little bit, which is the adjustment. Think of it as a little midget, adjusting the carburetor screws back in the day with, sniffing. Basically, they're supposed to be within 10%. So, which means that if everything's kosher, you should have at least a 90% accurate air fuel ratio going on. That you don't really need the oxygen sensors. The oxygen sensors are there, of course, for drivability, change of conditions, wear and tear, and let us not forget emissions.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But if the thing snaps the heck out of it, maybe you got an O2 sensor that's throwing you a curveball or two. Okay. Although you seem to have it on both sides, so the chances of that, it's worth it for like 10 minutes of unplugging things. But
right.
Since it's on both sides, it seems to affect the entire engine.
Yeah.
So, as a rule, when I find stuff like that, if I got one sensor throwing me a curveball, it usually, on a V-type engine, you'll have problems on the one bank. Even though you had a code, PO175, which was for bank 2, which is the passenger side bank, PO17, the other side, which is... 175 is the passenger side bank. 172 is the driver's side bank. What happens is that the other side just was knocking on the door. It didn't quite cross the line, but it was pretty bad too. Right. So, which means it actually it affects the entire engine. Because that's another thing you do when you want to look at stuff like mixture and stuff like that. Is it confined to one side? If you have a V engine, if you have a 4-cylinder, this is all out the window. But if all the cylinders are being affected, on two completely different sides of the car, two completely different fuel rails, two completely different exhaust systems, then, okay, if it's only on one side, you find out what's going on that side. If it's affecting everybody, there's very little connection. Where the connections, mass airflow, intake leaks, stuff like that, fuel pressure, stuff the both sides of the engine have in common.
Mm-hmm. Right, okay.
So in your case, the O2s, that's a quick and dirty.
Right.
You know what I mean? But a lot of times I will do that just to take them out of the equation. Right. That's another thing I try to do is you try to. How much time is this going to cost me? Think about time and money. Like if I can crawl under that and I can get something unplugged in 5 minutes, you know what I mean, and it's going to tell me something. Yeah, I'll try it. What the heck?
Right.
If I did, I'd just, peed away 5 minutes. What the hell? Also, that's the corollary of Joey's rule number 1. Is anything going to explode?
Yeah.
No. Try it.
Right.
What
That's
the heck?
usually my question.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And if it possibly is, make sure somebody's got the fire extinguisher.
That's how Joe cooks, too, by the way.
Oh, okay.
On the stove, yeah.
Yeah, when I walk into the kitchen, my wife dials 9-1.
And hold.
And then just keeps the thumb over the button for the last one there. But sometimes you have to just risk versus reward.
Right.
Or, time is money, that kind of thing,
Yeah. Well, if you want to get in on this, if you have anything to add or you have questions to ask, 516-572-7440 are the numbers to push, not 911, because that'll get you a different operator.
Correct.
And you can play with us on Motormouth Radio and share your thoughts and maybe your expertise. I think people are more listening today than they are.
No, I think they're snoring. We've had one question from the crowd about what about cleaning the mass airflow. And that is a possibility. That comes under the risk-reward possibility there, as far as just make sure you don't douse it with some kind of noxious chemical. We're flashing.
Mass airflow cleaner. There is a special cleaner for it. CRC sells it. Let's push this and say hi. You're on with the Motor Mouths.
Hi, I have a question for Laura D.
Oh, I know exactly who this is.
Who are we speaking with?
This is Joe Grease, and I want to know what would possess a person to take a normal 4-cylinder engine and put in a troublemaking 8-cylinder.
I'd say probably because it knows you, and it would say, "Well, if we can make the most, how can we make the most amount of trouble?"
He was messing around with my Corvette, and I wanted him to leave it alone and get his own project.
Distraction. I love it. That's a great tactic. I got to try that.
I was waiting for Joe to call.
It doesn't make any sense to me, Laura D.
Well, I'll tell you something. Joe, you know what? You've been on my hit list of guests for years, and I wanted in this seat. So now you've primed the pump. Now you're going to have to get yourself in here. And
well, I'm going to have to get my rear end in gear and get down here.
You will. It's not far. It's really not far. It's an easy ride, yeah. But,
come on down and visit.
I certainly will. I'm anxious to speak to you and Joe D. Joe D and Laura D, I see all the time.
Right. So, Joe, let me ask you, when I was speaking to Jack about this problem earlier in the week, Jack, I think you'd mentioned to me that Joe was kind of on the other side of the fence from you on the technology thing, correct?
Yeah, oh yeah.
What's up with that, Joe?
Well, I'm old school. I still have my 68 GMC, the orange pickup with the big block 454. I'm very happy with.
Yeah.
And I don't have an ECM and oxygen sensors and everything else, you see.
Right.
No school like old school, Ray, and I'm sure you would agree with me.
Well, yeah, I'm kicking it old school today myself, but I do certainly appreciate the new school stuff. It's so drivable.
Yeah.
I mean,
it makes it a lot easier.
It's the reality that unfortunately we have to deal with. Well, not necessarily. Unfortunately, we have to deal with emissions and fuel economy standards.
Oh, sure,
so you can't do that. Where I am. Let's see. They threw a '68 Cougar at me yesterday.
Oh, nice.
And well, I think of it. This is kind of a offshoot of this. Remember last week I got a text on the while we were on that the Chevelle wouldn't start.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I went over there, and of course it fired right up for me. Mm-hmm. Okay. The reason why is
scared of you. That's why.
pretty much. But that, and also what happens is that the car sat and maybe got a little actually got a little loaded up.
Okay.
And I just feathered the gas pedal, and because it's second nature to me, and off it went. The owner of the car, who's been driving fuel-injected late-model cars, who's used to getting into the car and, looking at it, not even turning the key, pushing the button, forgot about feathering the gas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
let more air in.
Right, exactly. So what happens is the older cars, the old-school stuff, you have to be more one with the car.
That's right.
I'm not trying to be old zen and whatever,
right.
But the new cars are pretty much trouble-free. Any idiot can drive the newer stuff. I'm talking about the late model Hondas, Hyundais, Toyotas, Chevys, whatever. You know what I mean? But with the old car, you kind of got to know what it's thinking.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's the one thing about old school, because people just didn't understand them.
And that's the thing with what Jack did. I'm driving a Resto Mod today, but I'm driving an old school Resto Mod. Jack, yours is a new school Resto Mod. You now had to cross over to the new school, and you're in a world now that you're not fully familiar with everything that's in that world. And that's why there's guys like Joe and all those forums online.
And you need the special tools. Without the special tools, you can't do anything.
I like to think for my own engine and not the engine think for itself. That makes sense.
Right. Well, although, depending on, some people, just back to going with knowing your own vehicle, if the car is rich, a later model vehicle with catalytic converters and whatnot, you don't know nothing. Unless it's really bad, you don't know nothing. The older cars, at least you could smell it, whatever, but when you plug into a car, you don't know what you're going to find.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what I can't tell you how many times I see something completely, whoa, that don't make sense. You know what I mean? And it's pretty much the same thing. Once and like I said, I spend my share of time with old school cars too. Like I still got that 56, I got a 68 Goat, I got to play with a little bit. It's air, fuel, timing. You know what I mean? It's how you access that information and whether you're going to push a button or you're going to turn a screwdriver or you're going to grab a wrench. It's all the same. It's just how you interface with the car.
It's the analog versus the digital interface.
Yeah, right. Years ago, it was all adjustments.
Right.
Move the timing, adjust the carburetor, do this. Now with the computer does everything.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you don't know what the computer's thinking, you don't know nothing.
And most of us don't.
You know what? That's right.
Right.
And let me just say one thing before I sign off. If anybody could fix that truck, it'll be Jack. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, I don't think he's good.
Nothing that man can't accomplish.
He don't strike me as the type to walk away from something. You know what I mean?
No, he does not. and he's been my best friend for 40 years. And Ray could attest to that.
That's right.
Okay.
And there's nothing I haven't seen that man conquer, and that is the gospel truth.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
Now that's a testimonial right there.
He'll never conquer me.
Well, that's why I told Joe in prequel to the show, I gave him a little heads up on what he was in for with the truck, and I told him, listen, Jack has done this, and this. He's been into wiring harness. I saw Joe doing the head slap already. And I said, stop. I said, if he's been in there, it's back. It looks better than it was when he found it. So,
oh yeah,
yeah. We all give Jack the praise because he deserves it.
Thank you.
He does.
Beautiful truck. Definitely.
He does.
Joe, you're no slouch yourself, though. Let me say that, Mr. Grease. You are no slouch yourself.
Well, thank you. Thank you all. I have friends like you, Ray, that are always there for me.
Well, you pay me well, so I'll say whatever you want. I don't care.
To say that. All right, I'll let you get back to your show, and it's always a pleasure, buddy.
All right, Joe. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
All right, speak to you soon.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was the one and only Joe Grease. And there's a story behind that we won't get into now. But as people ask, why do you call him Joe Grease? Because he's always dirty. No, he's not dirty.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay, we'll have to make a note of that one.
Yeah. We're rolling up on our last break. Let us do that. We'll reestablish, and you can come back with more Motormouth Radio with Ray Guarino and Joe, Jack, and Laura D. All the D's, three of them. One isn't related to two, but three also had the last initial. So anyway, what the heck? It was easy to say.
Makes it tough. It sucks doing alphabetical roll call.
I know, absolutely. All right, Motormouth Radio, keep it where you got it. We'll be back in a minute.
Hey, you in the car? Yeah, you're a fan of the music of Sly Stone. I know you are. No reason to hide it. You've probably been looking for a radio program that highlights his music. Well, then look no further. Let me introduce myself. I am DJ Solero. That's Soul followed by Air and an O. Solero. Well, never mind about that. Back to what we're both here to talk about. The Sly Stone Show features the music of Sly through the various artists who have covered and sampled his music, and I'll be playing some of the original music that helped impact a generation. Come on, I know you're looking for some feel-good music, so just keep your radio right here for the Sly Stone Show. And you might want to think about cleaning up your car before we start. This thing is nasty. Oh, back to what's important. It's the Sly Stone Show every Friday afternoon at 3 on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Every sound, every note, including the bass, on this track is played by a monkey.
American Hit Radio, Wednesdays and Fridays at 5 p.m. on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
This money
Yeah, we're talking about rich man, poor man. We're talking about Joe D's talking about buying scanners, so you know that we're talking out of my pocket right now. Back on Motormouth Radio, give us a call, 516-572-7440. You can get in on the last segment and talk to Joe, talk to Jack, talk to Laura about Jack's truck, about your truck, your car, your scanner, or if you know a good place for jelly donuts, because I'm always down for that.
Jelly donuts.
You know, I was going out to, after I got splashed with the gas yesterday, my next thing was, okay, I'm going to